Welcome back. This afternoon, you're listening to the Todd Laborowitz Show, Real Estate Radio on Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. I am your host, Todd Laborowitz, and we are speaking to Larry Regan, bankruptcy attorney with the Montero Law Group, LLC.
That's right, Todd. Thank you. Did I botch your introduction there? Was I supposed to let you go? Or
No, it's all
good.
perfect.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
You've been on the radio before.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Larry Regan from the Montero Law Group, LLC in Silver Spring, Maryland, and with you today. And I am talking about bankruptcy, but this is the real estate radio thing, and I'm going to be talking about bankruptcy and how it interfaces with real estate, because I think there's some really cool things out there that can be done.
But before we fill in our listeners with like a lot of information and knowledge, which I do want to get in, I want to get into who you are.
All right. Well, I think of myself as a sophisticated bankruptcy attorney. I've been doing this for a long time. I was sworn in '82, and I've been doing bankruptcy actively since '89. I've been lead counsel in over 2,300 bankruptcy cases in Maryland and D.C. That's where I practice. I don't practice in Virginia. And I've been supervisory counsel overseeing the work of other attorneys in hundreds or thousands of other cases. And so I have a lot of experience I bring to the show, and a lot of experience I bring to my cases. I've also recently been named one of the top 10 bankruptcy attorneys in Maryland by the National Academy for Bankruptcy Attorneys, which you can find at nafba.net. And so,
but I see that, and that was just recently on May 10th.
Yeah, May 10th. That award went out, which I was.
What's a Super Lawyer magazine? I see you got an award in all these other years.
Well, Super Lawyers is a mechanism for recognizing attorneys who demonstrate professional excellence and ethics. And it's published in Baltimore Magazine and in Washingtonian Magazine and in other formats. And they are you are picked out by your field. So the bankruptcy lawyers are listed, and there'll be bankruptcy lawyers chosen, and there'll be antitrust lawyers, there'll be divorce lawyers, and so on. And it's kind of the same thing as NAFBA, but it's more widespread because they go by segments of the profession. So,
okay. Well, Larry, let me ask you this, because there's a lot of attorneys that are out there, and you specialize in bankruptcy. And you got a lot of awards and acknowledgement for that, but you're not just the type of person that is going after the money, so to speak. You also have a lot of pro bono stuff. You volunteer as a debtor assistant project with the U.S. bankruptcy courts. Explain that, and also the volunteer from program inception to. That's
the debtor assistance project, and what that is in response to the financial crisis that came about after the Lehman Brothers, the bankruptcy courts were swamped. And it was necessary for the law to reach out and realize, hey, not everybody who needs help can afford it. And so the court and the bankruptcy bar got together and set up the Debtor Assistance Project, which is run through the Greenbelt Bankruptcy Court, which is where the federal court is in this part of Maryland, and the Baltimore Bankruptcy Court, which is where the federal court is for that part of Maryland. And what it does is it provides free half-hour intake interviews where people can come in with their problems, and you can analyze their problems. They come in with forms filled out so that you can see a little bit of their financial situation, and then you assess it, and then referrals can be made to pro bono or discounted attorneys who are appropriate choices. And we know who the volunteers are, and only the good lawyers volunteer. The bums don't volunteer. So they're all good lawyers, and so.
It also shows that you have a heart, you know.
Well, it does. I've done kind of rough math figuring that how many bankruptcies our firm has filed and how that divides between Chapter 7, which is walk away from debt, and Chapter 13, which is mostly save your house from foreclosure. And I would guess that it's probable that we've saved way north of 700 homes from foreclosure over the years. Now, that compares favorably with Habitat for Humanity. I mean, it's just the same thing if you keep somebody in their house as if you put somebody in their house. And it has the same effect on their lives. So I really have no problem with the guy in the mirror in the morning when I shave. I like being a lawyer. I love being an advocate. I love fighting. I love counseling and counseling wisdom when that's appropriate. But I really feel good about the work I do.
That's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why we like having you on the show, because you can't get on this show that easy.
No, I'm flattered to be on the show, frankly, so I'm very happy. I'm tickled pink.
Well, thanks for being here, Larry.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, if you're just tuning in, I have with me Larry Regan, bankruptcy attorney at Montero Law Group, LLC. I am your host, Todd Laborowitz, and you are listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. Well, let's get into real estate and bankruptcy. How does it all come together? I know you have a...
Well, there's two main factors for the homeowner for bankruptcy as opposed to the more sophisticated business and commercial real estate bankruptcy. The one factor is doing a lien strip or cram down on the property. and the other is saving it from foreclosure. Now, I think most listeners on a sophisticated show like this probably know that you can stop a foreclosure by filing Chapter 13 bankruptcy and then get a payback plan. And I think that that's kind of common currency on the street, that people will tell you if they find out you're in trouble. Your friends, your neighbors will tell you that. But there are other things you can do and other tools you can bring to bear and that I think are very important. I'm going to just do a sidebar right now, as lawyers call it, and do the legally required thing I have to say, like investment advisors say, which is we are a debt relief agency. We help people file for bankruptcy relief under the bankruptcy code. Now, that's required by law that I say that whenever anybody new might be listening to me. But let's talk about a lien strip and cram down. You do a lien strip on your primary residence and a cram down on your other property other than your primary residence. And let's understand what they are. In a lien strip, what you're doing is taking the second mortgage off the property. If your house is underwater, just looking at the first mortgage, so let's say your house is worth $300,000, but you owe $325 on the first and $70 on the second, you can file Chapter 13 and eliminate the second mortgage. As long as the debt on the first is greater than the fair market value, you can, quote, lien strip that property, which is a huge advantage for many people. I was in court with a lady today who's getting rid of a $70,000 second, and she'll be within $10,000 of being even on the property when that's all completed.
How does that affect your credit?
Well, obviously, bankruptcy adversely affects your credit, but I describe it as you dive deeper but recover faster. In other words, my clients are people who are going to have bad credit one way or the other. They're going to have judgments against them. They're going to have foreclosures against them. And they file a bankruptcy, which immediately is as deep as you can go. However, the statistics at the credit bureaus and at the lenders know that the medicine works. So after 3 or 4 years, we have people filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy, walking away, coming back 3 or 4 years later, and they're buying a new house that's not underwater. That's a key factor. You know, people are wedded to their home. It's my home. It's where my kids grew up and so on. But many times, if you're underwater $100,000, you're better off letting it go and maybe filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy, coming back in 3 years and buying a house that's even again, instead of being 100,000 or more underwater.
Now, it's interesting that you say that because I come across a lot of people that are in a tough situation, and I always advise them that they should talk to an attorney. And it's interesting because you're the only ones that can really advise someone if it's in their best interest or not, and you need someone that has the heart to say, you know what, it's in your best interest, no, it's not in your best interest, and so forth.
Well, I always tell people that a house is more than just equity or numbers. It's also where your kids grew up. It's where you first moved in when you first got married. It's where maybe your parent came home for hospice. I mean, it can be all kinds of things. It's more than just the bricks and mortar, but at the same time, it is numbers too. And so you have to look at not just where am I today? Am I losing my house today? What's going on? What's in my best? But you have to look out, where am I going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And that's what should drive the strategy is where are you going to be over that kind of time frame and how is it going to affect you? And a good lawyer can walk you through the process.
But you're the person to talk to if someone's in that situation.
Absolutely. And can I give a shameless plug?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Shameless plug. Our phone number is 301-588-8100, 301-588-8100, 301-518-8100. And of course, all of our initial consultations are no obligation.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you bringing this all to our listeners' attention. But also, tell me about your background.
My background. Well, I graduated from University of Maryland School of Law with honors in 1982. Started out my career doing car accident cases, then did collection work, then went to a general practice firm where I did criminal, divorce, you name it, everything. I did a lot of car dealership work. I represented I won't name them, but a local well-known auto chain that advertises a lot on TV. And I did a lot of work for them and then went with Garza, where originally I was with another firm. I did the litigation, he did the bankruptcy. And then we kind of switched over the years. We both burned out. He took the litigation, I took the bankruptcy, and have been doing it, I think, successfully since then, and was very pleased when the opportunity came to join the Montero Law Group, with LLC, which is a great organization, very young, very dynamic, and very successful. And so I'm very pleased to be there. I'm glad to be carrying on my bankruptcy practice. I want to mention, I mentioned at the beginning that there's lien strips, there's also cram downs. You can take a property that's not your primary residence and lower the mortgage debt to the fair market value of the property regardless. I'm doing a beach house in Bethany right now, Bethany West, where the property was bought at the wrong time in the market and it's $100,000 underwater. Well, we're going to walk that back down. It's going to be even Steven when the case is done. So it's a great tool that can be done with non-primary residence property. So beach house, investment property. If you're underwater, it ought to be some part of your consideration.
So do I just refer people to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll meet with anybody.
Because there's programs that are out there, and there's a lot of people. I see a lot of different advertisements, and I get a little scared.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be scared because there's no obligation when they come meet with. If they're not comfortable with a lawyer, they're not going to hire them. But I think they'll be comfortable. I've been doing this long enough.
Not law. I mean, like there's these companies that even the state's trying to go after them, saying, "Oh, we'll lower your mortgage. We'll do this." You're not allowed to take money in advance for those kind of services in the state of Maryland unless you're an attorney. Okay, it's a crime, and many of those. They can't crack down on them. They're like roaches. You can't get rid of them. They're everywhere.
They're correct, and it's bad. It's dirty money.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
Well, Larry Regan, bankruptcy attorney with Montero Law Group, LLC. If you'd like more information, you can check them out on our website at toddlaborwitt.com. That's toddlaborwitt.com, or you can call me directly at 301-467-8444. That number again is 301-467-8444. Coming up next, moving forward, we're going to have Mortgage Matters by yours truly, Todd Laborwitt.
I'll be listening.
Thank you.
Investors endured 2 devastating bear market corrections since the year 2000. Unfortunately, many people still haven't recovered from their losses. Yet our clients tell a different story. I'm Jim Musgrave with Research Financial Strategies. For investments that make money in both bull and bear markets, call me at 301-588-0514 or visit jimmusgrave.com to learn how Research Financial Strategies can benefit you, your family, and your business. Can you afford not to?